Hey there. Now we need our knife. Okay, now if you're sculpting in clay, everybody knows the wooden tool. You're just going to go in and take this wooden tool and just kind of carve into the surface, right? Well, that's going to be the standard brush. It's a couple of brushes, but I'm going to show it to you with the standard brush first. Okay, and I'm going to press Alt and push in. And now we have a fundamental problem. The polygon resolution is really low. But that's not a big problem, all right? The key thing is that inside your mind you have a sense of the form you're going to create. And this takes time, okay? Because most people, when they see lips, they think, well, we're going to just put these lips on there. They are not thinking about what is the shape of the orbicularis oris. How is that formed? They're not breaking that down into its constituent parts. They universally forget about the nodule at the side of the mouth, and then people will always universally forget about how to integrate that in with the rest of your sculpt. So you need to be aware of a lot when you're sculpting. The muscle fibers from the nodule at the side of the mouth flowing upwards, okay, and then the muscle fibers coming in like this. There's a lot to be thinking about, okay, and it takes time. But what you need to be aware of is in the beginning, it's not going to be enough to just stick some simple lips on there. You need to think about the teeth. You need to think about the jaw. You need to think about the skeleton underneath there. And then you need to think about the specific characteristics of the mouth muscle itself. The fact that it has nodules. Okay? That's really important. The fact that its terminus is right here at the nose, and that there is this round shape, and it goes above the mentalis. There's a specific boundary to it, but that boundary also interacts with other stuff. So you need to be aware of that. Like, for example, right here, the depressor anguli or the triangularis, right? All of these anatomical things. That's what's important, not how many polygons you have. So I could come in here and say press Alt, and I could start to carve in what is pretty typical of my lips. Okay, I always put a line in. I always separate the top, separate the bottom. I always add this secondary line, push one in there, and then just start to carve some lines in along this way as well. That is pretty set in stone for me. So now, even without having enough polygons, I can come and press Shift and smooth some things out. And really make this work. And from a distance, those read like lips. And that's what's important. From a distance, it looks like lips. Now, I can't do much more than this. So the next step that I need to do is start to divide this, okay? But I'm going to leave the lips like that, and I'm going to see if I can put an eyelid in there. And most sculptors will start with the upper eyelid. And you don't have to use the standard brush. You can start with clay buildup. But I like the standard brush to do that. I just like it sometimes. It has a different character of pulling that smaller point forward. Then I might switch to clay buildup, which I just used a hotkey to do, and kind of fill this in. Okay, and I've made a really important mistake. I'm really glad I made this mistake, actually. I did something that you're probably going to do. Something's wrong with my eyes. What's wrong with my eyes is that I made a miscalculation from a side view, okay? There's the cheekbone, the brow, and then there's the orbit of the eye, or the opening of the eye. Okay, and what I did is I put my eyeball basically down here because I wasn't accounting for how it shoots up a little bit. You know, you can either see it as though the orbit of the eye is shooting up, or you can see it as though the brow comes down. One or the other, there's going to be less space between the brow and your eyelid than you think. A lot less space, but our human tendency is to put more and drop that eyeball down into the bone as opposed to putting it where it rightfully should be, and that means raising that eyelid quite a bit. So let's do that again. In fact, let's see if we can undo. Okay, and this is, you'll see at some point how you put eyes in here. Okay, but right now, I'm going to just keep it simple. Standard brush, using my hotkey. And I'm just going to keep that eyelid really close to the top and avoid what happened before, which was just dropping it down. Okay, you can even start to put a shadow in, a shadow for the caruncula. And on from there. Alright, now with that done and said, we have looked at the knife, we've looked at some anatomical problems. Now we need to look at how we're going to get more polygons to create better form. This is fine for now. It doesn't, you know, there's a million things wrong with it from my perspective, but this is a fine place to be. Alright, next video let's look at resolution.